Good evening, everyone. My name is Javon Hicks, and I am the Clerk of Court for State and Magistrate Court. And we are here this evening to welcome you to the DeKalb Tenant-Landlord Assistance Coalition application process webinar. We know that the application process is one that is not as easy to maneuver if you're not familiar with our system. We have provided step-by-step instructions on our website at www.DeKalbCountyGA.gov/rent help. But we also wanted to make sure that we provided an opportunity to show you those steps firsthand and have you ask questions. As a point of tonight, you will be able to type questions into the Q&A section on your computer as a part of this webinar. We will try to answer your questions this evening. If we have not or are not able to answer your questions this evening, we will provide answers to those questions and post them on the website for people in the frequently asked questions section. At this time, I would like to introduce to you the leadership team of our office that is working on the Tenant-Landlord Assistance Coalition, which we call Tlac. And the leadership for our Tlac program, Sabrina Franklin, is our project coordinator for this program. And Deborah Cross is her co-lead or her deputy, if you will. We are a new program. We started in February, and we are here to assist you as best we can to process your applications as quickly as we can. And so at this point, not to take any time away from what you came to hear, I'm going to introduce Kimberly Phelps, who is our IT person extraordinaire in our office. And she developed this training in order to help you be able to fill out the applications on Efile Georgia, how to check to see if you have your cases in our system, in the Odyssey system, to see what stage your case is in, and if you need to file subsequent documents. So she will touch on all of those subjects this evening. And again, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. We have disabled the chat, so the chat is not available for this program. Kimberly?
Good afternoon, and welcome to the DeKalb Tenant-Landlord Assistance Coalition webinar. The purpose of DeKalb County's Tenant-Landlord Assistance Coalition is to provide financial assistance to eligible households for the payment of rent, rent arrearage, utilities, utility arrearage, and other housing costs incurred due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This workflow chart is a high-level illustration of the overall TLAC application process. First, we are asking for you to complete the case verification. Before you start a new application, please verify if there is an existing open case located on DeKalb County portal. Next, you are required to create a user account on Efile Georgia to submit the application. Once you create a user account, check your email to activate your account. Please return to the main page to sign in to Efile Georgia platform to begin the application process by following the steps provided. Next, you will upload the required documents, review, and submit your application. After your application is submitted, you will receive a case and an envelope number in your email for reference. Please use your case number to check the DeKalb County portal for your case status. Please use Google Chrome or Firefox to access Efile Georgia. The website is not accessible on Internet Explorer. Now, to provide you with a little more detail about the TLAC application process, as I stated before, the first stage is case verification. Please verify if there is an existing open case located on DeKalb County portal. To identify a TLAC case number, you will see 8 characters. The first 2 digits represent the case file date. So if your case was filed in the year of 2021, you will see 21. The next character is a letter. You will see an R, which represents DeKalb Tenant-Landlord Assistance Coalition, or a D, which represents Magistrate Dispossessory Non-Payment of Rent. Next will be the 5-digit case number. So for example, you will see 21R00000 or 21D00000. Now, once you go into the portal, if you locate an open case in the system, check the status of your TLAC application. And we're going to go over that in a few minutes as far as what the different statuses you'll see on the portal. Now, if you locate an existing case and it states that it's closed or administratively closed, begin the application process in Efile Georgia, which we're going to go in detail on how to actually submit your application on Efile platform. Now, if you do not see or locate an open case in the system on the portal, then you're going to also begin the application process on Efile Georgia platform. Once you go to Efile Georgia platform, you're going to create a user account on Efile Georgia to submit the TLAC application. If you have an existing account with Efile Georgia, if you've already filed within our platform previously, then you're going to go ahead and proceed on to sign into that account, the Efile account. However, if you do not have an Efile Georgia account, you're going to check your email box to activate your account. So you're going to register, and then at that point, you're going to activate your account. Once you activate an account on Efile platform and you create a username and password, which is identified by your email address and whatever you create as far as a password, you would then actually sign in to the Efile Georgia platform. And then you'll start the application process by following the steps provided. Next, you will upload your documents. So there is a series of documents that we're requiring for this particular program, such as your application and other supplemental documents or additional documents, which we'll go over shortly. Once you upload your documents, you will review what you're submitting on Efile Georgia. So you'll review it, and then you'll submit the application. After the application is submitted, you will receive a case number as well as an envelope number for your reference. So you'll receive an email confirmation in the email that you identified as your user account name as a confirmation that we received it in our particular court. Periodically, we advise that you check the status of your case, utilizing the case number that is going to be emailed to you once your account or your application is submitted to our court. So check the status of the application within 24 hours once you submit the application. So let's talk about how to access the DeKalb County portal. So once again, you're going to access the DeKalb County portal website by going to ody.dekalbcountyga.gov/portal. Once you get to this particular website, you're going to click on Smart Search, which is identified in red on this particular screen in the middle part. Once you click on Smart Search, it's going to ask you to put in your case number. If you do not have a case number or you don't know your case number, then at that point, you can put in your last name and your first name. Of course, if you have a middle initial, you can put in that to search the database on DeKalb County portal. Once you put in those identifiable name criteria, then at that point, you're going to select I'm not a robot and click on Submit. Once you click on submit, it's going to take you to another screen where it's going to give you a list of case number. If you only have one case number, it's going to show you that one case number. If you do not have a case number, it's not going to actually register. It's going to state that there's no case number identified. However, this is how it looks on the portal if you do have an existing case. So on the shell of the DeKalb County portal, it will provide the case number, the parties associated with that particular case number, the file date. So on this particular case, it was filed on June 15th, 2021. It provides the status of the case, it's stating that it's open, and also it provides the parties' detailed information. In order to actually go into the case for you to find out what the status is of the case, you will click on the hyperlink, the actual case number hyperlink, and it will go into the actual portal setting. So let me tell you exactly what you'll see within the portal. So this is the information that you'll see on the DeKalb County portal. It's created four different sections. The first section is the case information section. So up under the case information section, you will see the case number, your file date, the court, which all of these cases will be Division 0, as well as the case type judicial officer, which is always Judge Burl Anderson, as well as the case status. It's going to state if it's open, closed, or administratively closed. You're also going to see the party contact information. The next section is the party section. So within that party section, you'll see the plaintiff. In this case, it means the landlord and their address. You'll also see the defendant address and the defendant name, which in this case, it will be the tenant. In the next section will be the most important section, which is the event and hearing section. This is where you're going to locate what the status of your case is. So what I've done is I provided the different statuses of the TLAC process. So with the event, for the first step, step 1, if we received your application, you'll see TLAC application received. And it'll identify if it was an application provided by the landlord or if it's an application provided by the tenant. The next step is step 2, which identified the TLAC application sent to negotiator. So this pretty much tells you that the application was sent to the negotiator for review. So you know that the process has begun. Step 3, you'll see maybe 3 different codes depending on the status of your case. The first one is TLAC consent agreement. And this basically means that there is a written outcome of the negotiation. Or you may see TLAC consent agreement utility only. This identifies that a written outcome of the negotiation for utilities has been provided. Or you may see TLAC acknowledgement of non-agreement, which means that the negotiation between the landlord and the tenant was unsuccessful. Next, the next step is step 4, which is the TLAC to judge review. This means that the judge is reviewing your application and applicable documents, as well as in the process of signing the agreement. Once step 4 is completed, you'll go to step 5, which is verification. This is the final review of application and documents before payment is dispersed. Step 6 is the TLAC payment in process. So if you see this step, that means that the payment is being processed and actually sent out to you as the landlord. Next, you'll see step 7, which is the TLAC case closed, which means that everything has been dispersed. We received all the necessary paperwork and the case has been closed. Also up under that section, you'll also see hearings. So if there are any type of hearings scheduled for your particular case, it will be identified in this particular area. The last section, which is section 4, is financial section. If there are any type of financial information on the case, it will be provided in that section. Let's talk a little bit about what documents are required for this particular program. The tenant checklist. What must you provide with your application? First, you definitely need to provide a contact or a contact email as well as a phone number. We need to be able to get in touch with you via email or phone number. Next, you will need to provide a wage statement or a signed declaration. For example, a W-2 form, a tax return, income declaration, unemployment documentation, something so we can actually see what the wage statement or signed declaration is. Those are some of the examples. Also, you need to provide a copy of your lease, a legible copy of your lease agreement. If you've had a magistrate court notice, such as a dispossessory warrant or eviction warrant, we will need a copy of that for your particular case. If there are any type of past due utility notices that you're actually requesting assistance with utility, we would need the most current past due utility bills, a copy of that. And any other documentation that indicates risk of homelessness. For the landlord checklist, you will need to also provide your contact information that includes your email address and phone number. We would need a copy of the lease agreement that you have with the tenant. We will also need the tenant wage information, as well as documentation of payments. So for example, we would need your payment ledger or an itemized statement or proof of money owed from the tenant. Also, if you have filed a dispossessory warrant or eviction warrant on the tenant, we would need a copy of that order for the magistrate court notice. In addition, if your tenant is applying for utility assistance, we would need a copy of the utility bills issued, the most recent utility bills issued, and any type of documentation of rental assistance subsidies. So let's go over the TLAC Efile Georgia workflow process. As I stated earlier, you will submit your application and supporting documents through Efile platform. Once you submit it, the court will receive it, and the clerk or the TLAC agent will review and notify the filer of the status by email. So you'll receive an email confirmation advising that we've received it, as well as we've accepted it, and it will provide your case information as far as your case number. Then periodically, you will check on the DeKalb County portal the status of your case. So let's go into detail as far as how you would submit an online application for the TLAC assistance program. First, you will start a new application by going to the website, which is identified there. And we also have it on the website, on our personal website, TLAC website. The first step, you will have to register. Now, keep in mind, in order for you to actually go on this platform, you need to use Google Chrome or Firefox. The website is not accessible on Internet Explorer. Now, the steps to register. On the registration screen, you'll select the category that defines you by choosing between firm or individual. So most of you will be up under the individual. However, if you're an attorney, you will select the firm. And most of the attorneys are familiar with this particular platform, so they may have an account already set up. For the individual user, like a pro se filer, a landlord or tenant or process server, you would select individual by clicking on the tab that says individual, that's illustrated in the picture. Once you click on the individual or firm option, you'll fill in your information and click on next. So as you see, the pink areas are required fields. So you have to put in the first name, the last name, email address, and confirm the email address as well as your password. In order to move on, you have to put in the required fields. So once you actually type in the required fields, you're going to click on next, which is identified at the bottom right. Next, after entering your contact information, you're going to go ahead and put in the address information. So it's going to ask for your city, your zip code, the state, your telephone number. And then once you put in that information, it's going to ask you to agree to the terms and condition. You have to actually put in all those required fields in order to submit the registration on Efile Georgia. So once you put in the information, then at that point, you'll click on submit. Once you click on submit, you'll receive the confirmation registration successful. You will see an email confirmation in your email box that you've registered for the Efile platform. Make sure that you check your inbox as well as your spam or junk folder, because sometimes the confirmation email may actually appear in those particular folders. Once you actually find the actual confirmation email, it's going to be a link that's going to look like this. So this is the email confirmation that you'll receive. So you'll click to activate the account. And then once you activate the account, it's going to take you to the Efile Georgia platform. As stated before, it's going to ask you to sign in using your email address that you registered with, as well as your password that you've actually set up for yourself. Once you submit that information on the Efile Georgia portal or platform, then you're going to click on sign in. Once you sign in, you're going to start the process of the application. It's going to take you to a dashboard that looks like this. So once it diverts you to that particular dashboard, you will select Start Filing as identified in the picture. The first screen that it's going to take you to is to select the filing location. Efile Georgia is used with many courts in the state of Georgia, as you see on this list. So you will have to click on the drop-down box and actually select our court in order to process the application. Please make sure that you select the DeKalb County Magistrate Court. As you see on the screen, there's two options. So you want to make sure that you select the DeKalb County Magistrate Court, not the DeKalb County Magistrate Court Division 0. Once you select the filing location, it's going to take you to this particular screen to start a new case. Now, we all know that the first step is to go on the portal to see if you have a case. And so most of these filings will be a new case. So once you get to this particular screen, you will actually click on Start a New Case. Now, for supplemental filings or additional filings, you should already have a case number, and you will click on an existing case, which I'll discuss a little later as far as how to actually submit additional documents if required by the court. So once you click on Start a New Case, it's going to ask you to set up an account. So the way this Efile Georgia platform is set up, you have to have a payment account available to proceed. For these particular cases, there will be no fees assessed with the process of the TLAC application. So in order for you to waive the fee, you will have to set up a waiver account. So what you will do at the very top, you'll see an option that says Add an Account. You'll click on Add an Account and then follow the instructions provided. So at the bottom, once you click on Add an Account, it's going to ask you to name your account. At that point, as illustrated before, I named my account TLAC Landlord Application. You can name it TLAC Tenant Application, TLAC Landlord Application. And then you're going to click on Waiver, which is right next to it up under Create a New. Once you name it, which is a required field, and click on Waiver, you're going to click on Create Waiver, which is located at the bottom of the screen, as illustrated in the picture. Once you create the document, create your waiver account, it's going to take you to a screen so you can actually upload your documents to your particular profile. You can either upload the documents by dragging and clicking in the area that's identified, or you can go to the browser and actually search for it on your desktop or wherever you have it saved on your computer. Please keep in mind that this particular platform, Efile platform, only accepts PDF. So if you have a document and it's not in PDF form, you do have to convert it in order to submit the application. So for instance, if you have it in Word, you would convert it into a PDF by clicking on Save As and Save As PDF. If you have an iPhone, you will convert it. It will automatically convert into a PDF if you process it. So you have to have a PDF in order for this particular platform to actually accept your document. If you do not have it in a PDF form, you will receive an error message advising that it's not applicable to this particular platform. So please keep that in mind. So once you actually upload the documents, that includes your application and all additional documents, then you'll click on Case Information. And this is just another illustration of if you want additional documents submitted, you can actually add them at one time. So you don't have to keep on clicking. You could just add all of the documents at once on this particular profile. Now, when you're uploading on this particular stage of the documents, it's only adding it to your profile. It's going to be another section where you're going to have to add it to the actual filing, and we're going to go over that in a few minutes. Then the next step is you're going to have to select the actual case type. So once you get to this particular screen, it's going to automatically have the location filtered. It's going to automatically have the case category as civil filtered. So you will have to select the case type by clicking on the drop-down button and then actually selecting DeKalb Tenant-Landlord Assistance Coalition. Once you select that, then at that point, you'll click on Parties. And as you see, the location, the case category, and case type is a required field. So you have to actually select that in order to move on. The next category is the parties. So this is where you'll be able to put in the tenant and landlord information. If you're the plaintiff, it refers to the landlord. If you're the defendant, it refers to the tenant. Once again, if you're the plaintiff, it refers to the landlord. And if you're the defendant, it refers to the tenant. There are required fields on this particular section. So you have to put in the first and last name. If you do not have the address, it's not a required field. You do have to put in a name as far as the first name and last name. That is required. So once you put in both of the parties, then you'll go to the next screen. This particular screen is where you identify what you're submitting. So once you get to this particular screen, it will actually ask you for a filing code. The filing type will automatically be selected for you. It will state e-file only, which is identified on the picture. The next area is the filing code. You'll scroll down to either TLAC landlord application. It really depends on who's applying. Or if you're the tenant, you'll select TLAC tenant application. And of course, if it's additional documents that you're submitting, then at that point, you'll select TLAC supplemental documents. Another required field on this particular page is the filing description, which is located on the left side. This is where you will be in detail what you're submitting to our court. So you'll say TLAC application, if you're submitting the lease, if you're submitting utilities, if you're submitting payment ledger, this is where you'll be more detailed as far as what you're submitting on this particular filing. Remember earlier I stated that the first screen is just gonna upload the documents on your profile. This is where you'll upload the documents and you'll identify if it's a lead document, and then you'll also upload the document if there's additional attachments. So on this particular screen, the next screen, you'll identify if it's a lead document by clicking on Add Documents. A lead document in this particular program is the application. So here you'll actually upload your application as the lead document, and it is a required field. So you have to at least have the application in order to process this particular filing. So once you click on Add Documents, then at that point, it's going to bring up a pop-up box to select documents for lead document. You're going to click on the arrow, or you can actually drag and click as identified in the box. Once you upload the lead document, then at that point, you'll have another section where you can identify other attachments by clicking on Add Documents, as you see at the top up under lead document. You'll add the additional documents that you're trying to add into the application package. So you'll put the application in up under the lead document, and you'll put the additional documents up under attachments. Once you actually submit all of the documents required for the application, the TLAC application packet, then at that point, you'll click on Save, which is identified on that pop-up box at the bottom. So after you submit your filings, which is identified at the top of the screen, the next column or the next tab will be Service. This area is providing all of the service contacts that will receive an email confirmation of the filing submission. So of course, the plaintiff and the defendant will be listed. And if you want additional contact people, so if you have a roommate or someone else that you want to add to actually receive notification of the email, then at that point, you can actually add them here by clicking on Add New Contact. It's going to ask you for some series of information, such as the name and email address. And at that time, you'll enter it, and then it will actually show up under the service contacts, which is identified on the screen. Once you actually submit your service contact, or if you want to add any additional contacts, once you do that, then at that point, the next screen or the next tab will be your fees. This is where you'll select that waiver account that you set up in the beginning. So up under the dropdown, you'll see only one account, and it will state the waiver account, whatever you name that waiver account, which we identify TLAC application, tenant application, or TLAC landlord application. So once you select that waiver account, then at that point, you'll go to the last tab, which is the summary tab, by clicking on the summary button located at the bottom of the screen. This is where you'll be able to see exactly what you submitted before processing. So you'll have the opportunity to make any edits by clicking on the different tabs, either on the right side of the screen or at the very top. So if you want to make any modifications to the parties, you'll actually submit it. You'll click on the parties tab, and it will take you back to that parties tab, and you can update or modify the application. And then at that point, you'll be able to toggle back over to the summary tab. So you'll review everything before you submit it. And then of course, you will have to select submission agreement, read over it, and click on the submission agreement. Once you click on the submission agreement box, then at that point, you'll click on submit. Once you submit it, then it's going to automatically take you to the Efile Georgia dashboard that we first started off with. As you see, it's going to have a pop-up box that said envelope submitting, the envelope number, which I suggest that you write that down for reference. And then it also is going to be identified in your filing history as illustrated on the picture. The envelope number is a good tool to have. So if you have to contact our court, then at that point you can call and provide that envelope number, and our TLAC agents will be able to look up your filing to provide additional information. Once the envelope number is submitted, you'll also receive an email in reference to the case number. Now, we talked about supplemental filings or additional filings. So let's state that the let's say that the first time that you submitted your application, you only had the application, you did not have the additional documents that's required. Or one of our TLAC agents contacted you and say, okay, you need to provide additional documents. You can go back to the eFile platform. Once you sign in, then it's going to have your filing history as illustrated here. You're going to click on that envelope number that you wrote down for reference. And then at that point, once you click on the envelope number, it's going to take you to this particular screen. Once you get to this particular screen, you're going to click on the actual arrow that's saying, the hand gesture that's saying the folder. Once you click on the folder, it will take you to the screen so you can upload the documents. Once you upload all of the required documents, it's the same process. You'll go up under the case. Your party's information will be listed up under there, the filings, the service, the fees, and then it'll take you to that summary page. For every filing that you submit to our court, you'll receive a new envelope number. So you'll receive an email advising you of that envelope number, as well as any updated case information. Now, what happens after you submitted your application? So step one, once you submit the application and supporting documents, step two is we're going to determine, or the program is going to determine if you're qualified or disqualified for the program participation. Then step three, the participants for it will be forwarded to the DeKalb Dispute Resolution Center or Atlanta Legal Aid to continue the process. And then at that point, we're going to come to a conclusion if there is an agreement reached or not. And then, of course, the judge is going to approve it. And then at that point, the grant funds are going to be dispersed and the qualifying parties based on the qualifying agreement. Now, I've listed additional contact information if needed on this particular PowerPoint. And once again, this particular PowerPoint is on the website for reference. So if you actually want to review this, you can review this on our website, which is DeKalbCountyGA.gov/rent help. The DeKalb County portal is identified here as well. The Efile Georgia website is identified here, as well as if you have any questions or any concerns, or if you need assistance with walking through the application process, we do have TLAC agents in our call center. Their number is 404-371-3201. And also you can actually submit questions or any type of concerns about the status of your case with our email address, is renthelp@DeKalbCountyGA.gov. We are also making appointments. So if you want to come in, if you don't have the ability to actually submit the application, you don't have a computer or you don't have those resources, we are accepting appointments. So you can visit the Wait While application, which is actually on our TLAC main website. And you can actually schedule an appointment with one of our TLAC agents, and they'll be able to assist you with the application process. At this time, this is the Q&A session.
Thank you, Kim. We really appreciate it. As you all can see, it takes a few minutes to actually go through the process. Once you started, if you go step by step, like Kim said, this her process is accessible on the website. If you go about midway down from the TLAC website, and I've put it in the chat a couple of times, is www.DeKalbCountyGA.gov/rent help. And it's in the Q&A answers that I've typed before. Midway down the page, you'll see it says how to submit application. If you click that, you will get the PowerPoint that Kim just went over. There's also another link that says how to submit subsequent documents. So that is in case you, like Kim said, if you need to submit other documents, or if you've contacted an agent and they've contacted you and said they needed something else, that would be the process you would use because you already have a case that has been submitted. So to answer some of the questions that are posed, one of them, we go from the top. I think we went through how to file an application. So we just went through that one. That was the first question. An individual can have many cases if they are seeking assistance for rent and utilities, correct? I'm gonna let Kim answer that. That's not exactly correct. But Kim, can you answer that for us?
Right. So you're going to look for your particular case for this particular program by identifying it with an R or a D for the case number. So our case numbers for this particular program has 8 digits. The first digit starts with the year that the case was filed. So all of these should have been filed in 2021. So you'll first see 21. And then at that point, you'll see a letter which identifies the program. It's going to either state R or D. You may see some cases in 2020. Those are cases that we had previously before the actual program was actually implemented. So those may have 20 and then they'll have a D, which represents dispossessory non-payment of rent. So most of them will have 21R and then 5 digits after that, which identify these particular case numbers. So that's when you're going on the portal, you're looking for those type case numbers.
And also, once you have a case number, the fact that you're seeking rental assistance and utilities assistance, they will all be under the same case number, not additional case numbers. So for this program, you could have a D number and an R number, but the R number is what is controlling for this program. The D number is based on your existing case that is in the court system. It is separate from this process. And that's why we added the letter R, so that it was for rental assistance. Okay. Can you edit if you put yourself as a defendant and a plaintiff? If you make a mistake, is there a way to make an edit?
Yes. So before you submit it, you'll have an option to look over your application and what you enter on the platform on Efile. So you'll have the opportunity to go up on the parties, which is the parties tab, and go ahead and make the modifications as needed. So if you spelled your name wrong, if you've actually put in the wrong address or email address, you'll review it up on the summary page, but you'll have the option to edit it as well.
So one of the things we have, when you go and check your status in Odyssey, we will put up what the meanings are. There's a, for the stages that you see. On the website, it has what are the different stages of the process, but we will clearly define what you see so you can see what stage that is in. Sometimes it's not as easy to determine just because you see the event where that correlates as far as your actual case. So if there is a case where there's a consent agreement, the next stage is for it to be sent for payment. But if it doesn't say for payment, then it's not at that stage yet. That should be the next stage that is seen. There's a question about whether you put the apartment, I lost it. Oh, in the party section, do we put both the apartment manager name and their name? I'm assuming this may be a landlord question. Kim?
You will put the party that actually is on the lease agreement.
So the landlord name?
Yes.
Not the apartment manager? correct?
Correct.
So we are processing these applications as fast as we can. One of the things that has slowed us down and does slow us down is when we do not have the complete documentation. So it is imperative that we have the lease and all of the corresponding information and documentation to support that. And the checklist is on the website of the documentation that we need. The most important thing to remember is that if you are a landlord, you need the tenant's information. This program is based on the tenant qualifying for these grant funds. And the landlord can file on behalf of the tenant, but it is the tenant's information that determines eligibility on whether they are approved or not approved for the program. The funding goes either to the landlord or to the utilities, but the application and what is determined as approved is the tenant. So we have to work together because we have to have the tenant information, and it is the tenant that qualifies. And to further, the reason why we added this process so that you could go onto the website and see, onto the Odyssey portal to see the status of your case, to check to see how far it is. And just so, I don't know if it's in the workflow that's on the website, but what happens with the case is that once you provide all of your documents and an agent reviews to see if you qualify, if you do qualify, then if there's an attorney on your case, that case is going to be, your case is going to be sent to legal aid. And if there's not an attorney on the case, that case will be sent to mediation. And that's the time when you work out what is going to be paid on your behalf if you're a tenant, or to you if you're the landlord. And then once that agreement is made, that agreement comes back to the court for the judge to review. And once the judge signs off on it, it comes back to us to make sure everything is proper. And then we send that to the issuing agent for the funds. So it is a process, and it has many steps to it in order to ensure that everything is being done properly. So it takes some time. Unfortunately, it does take time. And we don't know exactly how much time, but we know it goes a lot faster if we have all of your information. Can you name a plaintiff if it's a corporation instead of a person, Kim?
Yes. So if you are renting from someone, you can actually put in, and it will ask you on Efile Georgia if it's a business or if it's a person, and you can actually fill in that information on the website, on Efile Georgia website.
Someone would like if you could explain the waiver account process again.
Sure. So once you get to that section, it's going to ask you to set up an account. The way Efile platform is set up, you have to have some type of account in order to proceed. So what we've created on this particular platform is a waiver, but you will have to actually put it on your particular platform up under your username. So once you get to that particular section, you're going to click on add an account. Once you click on add an account, which you'll see like a plus sign at the very top, and it'll tell you add an account. Then at that point, it's going to ask you to name that account. Depending on who's filing, if you're the tenant, you're going to say TLAC tenant application. If you're the landlord, you're going to say TLAC landlord application. Right next to that, you'll see a button that says waiver. You're going to select waiver. And then at that point, at the very bottom, once you select waiver, it's going to ask you to create waiver account. And you just click on waiver account, and it's going to take you to the next screen. Once you get to the point where you have to filter the payment, then at that point, you will only have one account. So you'll just click on the drop down and select the one that you just created, depending on who you are. If it's a tenant, you'll select that. If it's a landlord, you'll select that, and you'll go ahead and proceed to the next tab.
Okay, thank you.
Once again, this is recorded, so we'll have this on the website as well.
The main qualifications for this program, for the Tlac program, is whether you fit a certain criteria of annual income. And I'll state it again, it's on the website. So for example, an annual family income of one person that makes $46,350 or less, a family of two, $52,950 or less, a family of three, $59,550 or less, a family of four, $66,150 or less. So those are the wage limits for a family to be considered for this program. You have to have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and you have to be behind in your rent. So this is a rental assistance program. So if you have a mortgage and you need help with your mortgage, for instance, and you do not have tenants, then there are other resources available. Then we have provided a list of resources that are in DeKalb County. There may be some other programs that are directed toward helping people in that situation. But this program is for those who are behind in their rent due to COVID-19, and they meet the wage requirements. So if you are a tenant and you are filing an application, you need to have the list of documents and that for consideration. So you will have to provide the lease, the wage information, and your past due notices or the payments that you've made and what you've been told that is past due. You will have to provide the name of your landlord and address of your landlord. They will have to provide the proof that you are behind in the area, but you have to provide the lease. Did I miss anything on that, Sabrina?
No, ma'am, you covered everything.
The Tlac benefits will be paid until they run out. And so that is what we are working on. We are not taking walk-ins to the courthouse. We were asking you to go on the Wait While system and make your appointment. You can do that in the courthouse if you would like. If you come to the courthouse and you can go on the system and make an appointment. You may not be that you're seen at that time. You may be able to, there may be an appointment available later on in the day, but we are asking everyone to make an appointment. And the reason is it takes, as you can see, just as Kim explained, what it takes to register for a case, to file your application. So it takes a little while. We're averaging 30 to 45 minutes with a client, with a customer. And so because of that, and we have 3-4 stations. So we are taking applications to be able to meet the needs for each of the customers without having a lot of people just waiting because we may not get you. That's the reason we've established time slots in order to be able to assist you. And on that Wait While system, if you just have questions or you need assistance with filing, you let us know. There's 3 options on that system to let us know why you're coming in. Also, if you just need help, you can call the TLAC, for lack of a better word, hotline at the 404-371-3201, which is also on the website. and I know I keep saying on the website because we want to make sure that we're providing you all of this information. This is just giving it to you, and then you can read it again and you can say, oh, that's what she told me. Let's see. It is important that if you filed an application back when we first launched the Tlac program in February and you have not heard back from us, then you follow the steps to check the Odyssey website, as Kim went over, to see if you see your case in the system. And if you do not, then we are asking you to resubmit your information, resubmit the application so that we can process your case. As you know, we were hacked. And so a lot of documentation that we no longer have access to. So that is the reason why we're asking you, unfortunately, to resubmit your information. So one is the DeKalb County Magistrate Court Division 0 correct where the case information is?
No, so I want you to use the Magistrate Court. So DeKalb County Magistrate Court.
If you have a D number and you're checking and you have a D number, but you do not have an R number, or you have not filed an application for this process, you have to file an application. Having a D number, it does not put you into this program. You have to file an application. If you need any assistance with all the information we're throwing at you this evening, call the number, the 404-371-3201, or email us at renthelp@dekalbcountyga.gov, and we'll be happy to help you over the phone or make an appointment at Waitwhile to come in. We will be responding. There's some personal questions in here, so we will be looking into those. We will provide answers that are general answers. Some of the questions are general answers, and we will have, if they're not covered already in our frequently asked questions document, which is also accessible on the website, we will add to that list. And most of the questions here are in that list of frequently asked questions. If someone needs special assistance, for those who are blind or visually impaired, we can offer that assistance if you come to the courthouse, or call in and we can get assistance to you. It is our goal to assist everyone that we can. And so we will have someone to help. The phone lines open at 8:30 and they're open until 5 o'clock. So far, Deborah, do you have the number of how many applications we've successfully approved and how many we've funded thus far? The number that you gave us yesterday.
Okay, to date, we have assisted 295 applicants. Did you want the dollar amount as well?
You can give the dollar amount that
Okay.
we've so far.
Okay, it's $1,161,664.40 to date.
So we have a lot more applications in the pipeline, but they're in different stages. If there is no formal lease agreement, but you have some agreement, then you need to provide that agreement. The landlord needs to provide you with an agreement that shows why you're paying what you're paying and how much you allegedly owe. So with that, is there any information that my team would like to provide before we come to an end of this session? So I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. Again, a recording of this program or this training session will be available on the website. The documents that show that the PowerPoint that was used are already there. And you have the website, the email address, the phone number, in order to receive further assistance, as well as making an appointment to come in and see us. And with that, we'll say good night. Thank you for joining us.